Hello. Today I feel like talking about some music. I am a pretty big fan of music in general, and music is a big part of my life, especially now. And I think I listen to a large amount of music. So I wanted to go through the catalogs of some artists that I've went all the way through, that I'm familiar with, that I would like to talk about, that I enjoy. And I'm going to start with an artist that I do enjoy. He's not my favorite artist, but he has a smaller-ish catalog, and I can start with him. He's a good starting base. Today I wanted to go through all of Eminem's LPs that he released following Infinite, from the Slim Shady LP to his most recent album, The Death of Slim Shady. Eminem was a very divisive personality right from the start. So he really took the world by storm. The Slim Shady LP was a huge moment in rap history, defining moment. Going into the Marshall Mathers LP, that's proven, as you see, the sales of his later albums immediately climbing up just from word of mouth after hearing his first album, and just he showed a lot of promise very early on. At least he did something new in the mainstream. Hi, my name is Eminem's first-ish album was the Slim Shady LP. Technically, he released an album before called Infinite. It's a little bit complicated. There's arguments whether or not it is a studio album or not. I'm not going to talk about it. I don't think it's very interesting or worth talking about. I'm going to start with the Slim Shady LP. This album starts with a skit called Public Service Announcement, and it's right off the bat, it's very cheeky and satirical, and I think it sets up the album perfectly. Essentially, a man is speaking to the audience, the listeners, and warning about the contents, the lyrical contents of the album. And it ends with him asking Eminem, or the Slim Shady persona, if he has anything to add before he adds "Don't do drugs," which, as you'll see as the album goes on, very satirical, very tongue-in-cheek, very funny way to open this album, and immediately goes into possibly the most perfect introduction for a character in music with "My Name Is." You hear this really absurd, abrasive character come up. "My Name Is a fantastic song. Not only is it very catchy and iconic, has a great beat from Dre, but it sets up this character of Slim Shady perfectly. He says some ridiculous lines right off the bat. He just kind of shows off this, ridiculous, offensive, over the top personality through all the lyrics. It's a very good song. Still one of my favorites off the album, despite the fact it's, by far the most popular. And you can see that this album just has a very comical tone, at least through most of it. There's parts that aren't as comical, but you're going to see here, and for a large majority of the record, it's very funny. After we go through "My Name Is," we get to the song "Guilty Conscience," and "Guilty Conscience" is actually probably my personal favorite song on the album. I really love songs where there's two characters going back and forth, maybe arguing, maybe talking to each other, but I really enjoy that in music. That's what this song is. It's essentially Eminem and Dre working as two sides of a conscience, talking to three random people in like a loosely connected, unconnected chronology, a series of stories. And this track's a lot of fun. It has a more dark-ish tone than the previous song. Still a very funny song. You get some funny lines, especially towards the end, like, what? She tripped, fell, landed on his dick. Very funny lines. It continues showing the Slim Shady persona. I really enjoy this song. I really enjoy the back and forth. And this song is a little darker. We kind of go away from the comedy. There's a few songs on this album that are actually more serious than anything, which I would say about If I Had and Rock Bottom, where you kind of see some humanity from Eminem. There's not really much of the Slim Shady persona present here. It's kind of just, Eminem talking about, venting about his personal problems growing up poor in Detroit. And they're good songs, especially Rock Bottom, I'm a huge fan of. If I Had is good. I don't like it as much as Rock Bottom. But, it's still these kind of serious, real songs, still with a bit of that, Eminem edge to it. And there's some fantastic storytelling on this album as well. We get to the song 97 Bonnie and Clyde, which is a very intense song. It's about Eminem essentially killing his wife's boyfriend, killing their son, and taking those bodies with him, with his daughter in the car, to dump them in the lake. And the song is through Eminem's perspective, trying to explain away this story to his daughter. It's a very uncomfortable song. It's probably one of the most uncomfortable songs in this way I've ever listened to. In fact, it makes me even more uncomfortable than Kim on his next album, which is known to be one of his most extreme and uncomfortable songs. This personally gets me in a way that no other song of his gets me. It's worth noting that the song existed before this album. If you've ever listened to the Slim Shady EP, there were a few old versions of tracks from this album on there, and one of them was called Just the Two of Us, which was similar to the song. It was this song, but it featured a slightly different beat using a prominent sample from Just the Two of Us by Billy Withers. I think that version is superior to this version. Obviously, it had to get removed because I'm sure Eminem could not have cleared that sample. I'm sure that was the reason it was changed. But I do think that version is significantly more haunting than this version, and I would definitely listen to that version if you haven't before. We get into songs like Role Model, which stick out to me as just absolutely absurd. Role Model especially, it has like this very weird like bubbling sounds in the background of the beat, very prominent, very odd. And then it has some of his weirdest, one of the bars that sticks out to me, I think about all the time, and near the end of the song, he says, "I'll tie a rope around my penis and jump from a tree." I think that line is very comical. It sticks with me a lot. It's one of the Eminem lines that stick with me the most in my head that I remember. Overall, throughout his whole catalog, we got songs like My Fault and As the World Turns, which show off more of his storytelling capability. These whole stories. My Fault especially is very catchy. I love that. I never meant to give you mushrooms, girl. I never meant to take you to my world. I like that song. And it's very funny. Both of these songs very funny. Just Don't Give a Fuck. I actually didn't like this song the first few times I heard it, even though it's a classic. It's grown on me a lot. I do really like this song. Not much I can say about it. It's a very catchy song. Classic song. We get into Bad Meets Evil, which has a feature from Royce the 5, and it's one of the best features, I think, in Eminem's catalog. There's some great chemistry on the song. Royce is a very good rapper, and I think he does a very good job keeping up with Eminem's wordplay and his rhyme and his technicality on this song. It's more kind of going back and forth, not in the same way as Guilty Conscience, but still, there's some back and forth, and I think that this song's really good, a really underrated song from this album. And this album leaves off with Still Don't Give a Fuck, which I think is a pretty good outro track. It starts this trend on Eminem albums where he'll start a song with this kind of speech. It's altered a little bit, but it usually starts with, "Lots of people ask me stupid fucking questions," and that's just there's a few things that happen on Eminem records that he keeps consistent throughout his catalog for the most part. He has a lot of skits that recur on his album and a lot of recurring characters, such as Ken Kniff, which is prominent on this album in a track. There is Paul, the character of Paul, his manager, who comes up in many times, almost every Eminem album. And so this album just started a lot of those trends. It's his first major album. Again, maybe his first album, depending on how you count Infinite. And I just really have a lot of positive feelings on this album. I think there's very little wrong with it. If I had to criticize it, it's not super consistent. There's some sleeper tracks here, like Come On Everybody. I mean, this title's funny. It's not a very good song. I think it's very clear that he's good at what he's doing, but he has room for improvement. That being said, this album's really, really good. I come back to it a lot, and it's one of my favorite Eminem albums. So my rating for it, I'm gonna go with 9 out of 10. Following the Slim Shady LP, Eminem would drop the Marshall Mathers LP the next year, in the same month, in March. And right from the start, you can see the cover, both the cover and the alt cover kind of show kind of this darker, kind of grittier looking cover. You know, something, it feels a little less comical, and I think that's reflected in this album. It takes a darker tone. It's still comical in a way, but not to the extent of the Slim Shady LP, and I'd say in general, this album is a lot more extreme than the Slim Shady LP. At the beginning, it kicks off the same way with the public service announcement, but it's a subversion of the version we get in the Slim Shady LP. It's very direct. The humor in it is less dry and more bizarre, as he essentially makes fun of people criticizing him, you know, tells them they can suck his dick and kiss his ass, basically. And that transitions right into the opening track, Kill You, which is an immediate return to the Slim Shady persona, but ramped up, taken to the next level. Some of the most extreme lyrics we've seen from Eminem, possibly the most extreme lyrics we've seen from Eminem so far. Very shocking with the way it describes women, talks about women in this song. You know, he's very clearly attempting to be offensive, very clearly trying to get buzz about him, and I would say it works. He says some crazy things in the song. It's a very good song. I think it shows up the Shady persona great, and I think it actually just sets up the tone of this album really well. It's a more extreme, ramped up, darker version of the Slim Shady LP, where things are taken maybe a bit more seriously in some ways, which we're going to see with the next song, Stan, which is one of the greatest storytelling songs in hip-hop, almost unanimously. Personally, I would prefer 97 Bonnie and Clyde as a storytelling song. I would say that 97 Bonnie and Clyde did a better job of keeping me on the edge of my seat, keeping me engaged. It does a better job using, like, this what's the word I'm thinking of? It does a good job using these, like, literary devices, these devices to keep you interested, you know, from the perspective of Eminem to his daughter. That being said, Stan is a very, very good song. It is about a crazy fan essentially mailing Eminem, getting frustrated Eminem's not responding, getting more crazy before he eventually ends up taking the life of his wife, unborn child, and himself while drunk. Eminem finally writes him back, but it's too late, and he finds out that Stan is dead. Amazing song, long song, it keeps you engaged throughout, and just very enjoyable. And I think it's one of Eminem's most unanimously loved tracks, especially by people who review music, maybe take music very seriously. One of his most popular tracks, most loved tracks that aren't perhaps maybe a super big hit. And then Eminem, after this, you know, this was kind of a step back, more of a serious song. There's not really much of the Shady persona present here. He picks back up with the Shady persona, and with tracks like Who Knew and I'm Back, where he gives you more ridiculous, over-the-top lyrics, says things that are, you know, absolutely insane. These are good songs, catchy songs. We move on to The Way I Am, which is a very angry song. And it's a very real song, and it's still from the perspective back of Eminem. See, the Slim Shady LP, given its title, is mostly from the perspective of Slim Shady. The Marshall Mathers LP is kind of a mix between, you know, Slim Shady and just a more real version of Eminem, or Marshall Mathers, as the title would suggest. And Eminem is being very real on The Way I Am. He's talking about how fame has affected his life, which is a big topic of this album from the first song, from the first lyrics in the first song. He says, I can't rap about being broke no more. I can't rap about doing coke no more. Like, the perception of him has changed. Perhaps his perception of himself has changed. The way his life is going has changed drastically in just a year. He's given this huge opportunity. He's been given a large amount of fame in a short amount of time. And he deals with that in this record and in the song. He talks about how he may come off as an asshole due to not molding to the standards of how people may usually perceive a celebrity, maybe not being so buddy-buddy with people, and, not upholding this nice personality in public. He has a very funny line in the song where he says he'll never be able to top What My Name Is, his song from his first album, which I think is funny, given the next track, The Real Slim Shady, immediately tops My Name Is and is a much more popular and streamed song. And it's probably his most catchy and iconic song, in my opinion. It's not his most streamed song, but I would say it's probably his most well-known song. I think it's the most iconic hook in hip-hop history. It's just a very unforgettable song. Everyone knows this song. I feel like everyone likes this song. Like, who doesn't like The Real Slim Shady? After The Real Slim Shady, we move into Remember Me, which I think is probably the most forgettable and weakest track. But even as the weakest track, there's still positive things to say about it. There is a very good and highly technical verse from the feature Sticky. Just some very insane wordplay in one of the verses. Very impressive. It caught me off guard the first time I was listening through. So, even the lowest parts of the album have saving graces. After this, we move into the song Marshall Mathers, more, being introspective, more talking about the personal aspects of his life, moving away from this shady persona in this song. We move on to the Ken Kniff skit in this album, which is very grotesque, purposefully so. And perhaps it's funny to listen to maybe once. Is it a little bit over the top? Perhaps. I can't fault it too much, although I feel like it maybe goes on a bit too long. I don't need to hear Ken Kniff getting sloppy-toppy for however many minutes this thing lasts for with nothing else. I'm not sure how much it really adds. We go into the song Amityville, which I feel like is one of the more hated songs from this record. I like this song quite a bit. I think it's catchy. Amityville, I don't know. I think it's very catchy. You get a very short but very insane verse from Bizarre. Bizarre is one of my favorite recurring features on Eminem albums. I just think Bizarre is a funny guy. He kind of does the Eminem shtick, but in a different way. He's very absurd with it. Lacks any kind of, reason or rhyme to what he's saying. Given his name Bizarre, what he's saying is bizarre. He starts out his verse with just fuck my cousin in his asshole. Like, I don't know how you start a verse like that. But it's very funny. And, we go into Kim after the song. And this is easily his most intense song he's ever made. In my opinion, like I stated earlier, it lacks the same uncomfortability and the subtlety that made 97 Bonnie and Clyde so good. I feel like, the vagueness, the storytelling device he used in 97 Bonnie and Clyde made it more uncomfortable, made it more, hard to listen to as compared to this song, which is good, but feels in a way like he's just trying very hard to top 97 Bonnie and Clyde, and in a way doesn't succeed. That being said, it's still a very intense song, kind of like a breathtaking song the first time you hear it. Very over the top. And, we go through a few more good tracks before getting to the ending of the album, Criminal, which returns the A Lot of People opening. A lot of people asking stupid fucking questions. And I think it's a good ending. And this is another song with the absurd Slim Shady persona. Some very insane lyrics. At this point, to the point of hilarity, another bar that I come back to that I remember all the time in the song near the end. This puppy's lucky I ain't blast his ass yet. Like, just absurd lyrics like that kind of make the song really funny, really good, really sets the tone. I think really just ends off this album on a high note. I think this album is pretty clearly Eminem's best work. It is his magnum opus, and I don't think he ever tops it. unfortunately. But he does a very good job, and I think this album is nearly perfect in a lot of ways. I really enjoy this album. I come back to it a lot. It's brought down just a tad by a few different things. For example, Remember Me is pretty forgettable. Amityville is good, it's not the best. There's some songs that just aren't the best. Kim, I feel like, doesn't live up to what it's trying to be. That being said, this album is fantastic. 9+ out of 10.
Two trailer park girls go round the outside, round the outside, round the outside.
You know, and after an album so good as the Marshall Mathers LP, you kind of wonder how he can go on from there, how he might be able to top it, or even, you know, keep up with what he has just done in his last album and even the album before that. And, you know, he would drop the Eminem Show not too much later, 2 years later, and this album would go down as one of the most memorable and loved albums of hip-hop of its time, and possibly of all time. We open with White America, which I think is a great opener. I think in terms of Eminem, when it comes to political songs, it succeeds at what it's doing the best. Later down the line, we'll get to some political Eminem songs that are not very good. But here, he manages it well. We get to Cleaning Out My Closet, which is a regretful song from Eminem. He says he regrets making it, doesn't like hearing it on the radio, and he has essentially forgiven his mom, which is what the song is about. It's very much a diss aimed at his mom, going through just a lot of the things she supposedly did. I still think, despite Eminem's distaste for it, and I can understand his distaste for it, I still think it's a good song. I think it's very catchy, and I enjoy the song quite a bit. So it is regrettable that it is about what it's about, and that Eminem no longer enjoys this song, and he no longer performs it. Moving on from that, we get to Square Dance, which I think is a very underrated track. He uses accents in this song. For one of the first times, maybe the first time, somewhere around there. It's not a problem on this song. Accents will become a problem later down the line. It might be the biggest problem he has for a long time. But for now, his accents aren't bad. And I think Square Dance is an underrated track. I think it's very catchy. And I think it's very enjoyable. Move on to Drips, which is a very absurd song with these absurd sexual lyrics. It's very grotesque. A lot of people don't like it. I don't think it's necessarily bad for what it does. I think it's an okay song. I don't think it's terrible like some people say. It's just very over the top, very grotesque, and very sexual. And then we get some absolute classics on here with, you know, Without Me, Superman, Till I Collapse, just some of his most iconic and catchy songs. Without Me and Superman in particular, both of these songs are absolutely iconic, so well known. Without Me is an absolute banger. All of these songs are bangers. Eminem just really knows how to write hooks. He knows how to make a catchy chorus, and that's really proven here. We go to Sing for the Moment, which is the start of the Eminem thing where he makes you think, how in the fuck did he clear this sample for this album? How is he getting this extended Aerosmith sample for the entirety of this song? Especially in this part of his career. That's impressive to me. And this song's pretty good. I mean, it's alright. I mean, it's alright. We move on to Haley's song, which is, I think, one of the first emotional tracks in Eminem's discography that shows his versatility and his ability to make these moving songs. You know, it just feels very raw and real, especially with the amateur singing he has on the song. You know, it's a love song, but not in a romantic way. And I love those kind of songs which show a love for maybe a family member, for a friend, and I think we need more songs like that. In that way, it reminds me of Hey Mama by Kanye, which I think is in a similar vein of being a song showing love, showing appreciation for a person close to you in your life that's not a significant other. And I very much enjoy this song. We get a few more songs before getting to the closer, My Dad's Gone Crazy, and I think it's a very awesome song, a very fun song, especially given the context of Haley's song previously, where you have Haley Jade on this song saying, "My dad's gone crazy." I just think that's really nice. I think it's funny. I think it's entertaining. And you know, overall, this album's really good. A lot of people call this his best, or you know, almost tied with his best. I don't think I'm quite as crazy with it as I am his first two albums. Not to downplay this record, it's amazing, it's influential, and he did a lot of good things on it. But in a personal sense, I don't get as much out of it as I do his first two albums, and I don't revisit it as much as I do for his first two albums. And I don't think it's as consistent as his first two albums. There's many more tracks here, which I just didn't mention, which I didn't think had much to mention that there was for me to talk about. But I'm very positive. 8 out of 10.
Now hush, little baby, don't you cry. Everything's gonna be alright.
So now Eminem has dropped perhaps the greatest hip-hop trilogy thus far, and it really feels like he's either going to keep this up forever or he's going to crash sometime soon. And so he began working on Encore, and unfortunately there's problems because not long before this album was scheduled to release, like half the tracks from it were leaked online. And Eminem didn't want to release an album, understandably so, with a bunch of songs that everyone has already heard due to leaks. So he went back to the studio and rushed re-recording like a good half of the album. And that's very noticeable when it comes to the quality of this album. The first two tracks, I think, set a bad tone for what's to come. The songs themselves aren't terrible, but when you compare them to anything on his first three albums, you're noticing that they're just a much lower quality. They're not super memorable. They're not super catchy. And there's just, not a lot to get out of them compared to, his first three albums, which all started very strong. And, it makes you worry a bit. Luckily, we get to Like Toy Soldiers, which gives you some hope, and this is a great song. And it makes you think maybe the first few tracks, maybe he was just messing around. Maybe he'll improve going forward. We get to the song Puke, and I would say Puke is Eminem's single most overhated song. I think people hear the gross kind of puking at the very start and immediately tune out everything on, which I can understand. It's pretty gross. But what you're giving the song, I think, is a pretty fun and I think pretty catchy song. I don't think it's very bad. I really don't. Besides the puking at the beginning, I'm not finding a whole lot to dislike about this song. I enjoy it. I come back to it quite a bit. Unlike the song coming not so long after, My First Single, which is absolutely atrocious and is it is his first song, which makes you think, how did he record this, finish it, vet it, and have it put on his album without any second thought? The beat is absolutely atrocious. Whatever drums he's using are terrible. It's like this loud clapping, almost plastic sound on the beat throughout the whole thing. So loud, so distracting. This song is so bad. Like one of his most out there, very noticeably bad songs. Although I do think it is pretty much bad to the point of being humorous. We get to Rain Man and Bad Weenie. Both of these songs are bad. I don't know what to tell you. These are bad songs. Bad Weenie's not quite as bad as people make it out to be. I don't think it's the worst song on his album or anything. It's still pretty bad. It's just maybe a 4 out of 10 song instead of a 0 like people talk about it. We get a breather a little bit before we get into Ass Like That, which I think is possibly Eminem's second worst song he's ever made. We'll get into what his worst song is in the future. Just you wait. But Ass Like That, horrible, possibly racist overtones. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to be getting from this. I don't know. I don't. The weird Indian accent going on throughout the entire thing. The very strange line with my pee-pee go doing 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 or whatever the fuck. I don't know. This song is bad. It's really bad. I don't like listening to it. The song makes me uncomfortable in a bad way. This is a bad song. And then that's crazy when we turn around and get a song like Mockingbird from Eminem on this album, which I think is one of his best songs he's ever made. And I have a personal connection to the song, considering my dad showed me it when I was a younger child, and I really loved it. It was one of the first songs to make me cry, one of the first songs to make me emotional, and now it still does make me emotional, and I kind of have that personal connection to that song in a way, and I think it's just a very good song. He's talking about his daughters, providing for them, not wanting them to grow up and, replicate, go through the same things that he's going through or went through as a child, how he wants to pave a better path for them, how their life may be hard right now, what they're going through with, their mom. And I think it's a really sweet song. I think it's a very sweet song. And then we get to the last two songs, which I think are strong, especially the closer, One Shot, Two Shot. I think this is another great storytelling song. I think he has great chemistry with the rest of D12. One shot, two shot, three shot, four shot, all I hear is gunshot, this is where the phone stops. It's a catchy song. I really like the song. Slept on Song. And mostly what you get from this album is it has very shocking up and downs. It has some of his highest highs with songs like Mockingbird and songs like my first single, Rain Man, and Ass Like That. It really makes you wonder what this album could have been if it hadn't been leaked so close to release. Maybe he could have kept it up, and maybe he could have, made an album almost as good as his first three and made maybe the best quadrilogy in rap. But unfortunately, he did not succeed, and I think what he's given us is an album that averages out to being pretty mediocre, from some great songs to some mid songs to some terrible songs. Which is why I'm going to go with 5 out of 10. So, after Encore, critics don't like it. And due to some personal reasons, Eminem takes a 5-year hiatus. And he comes back with the album Relapse. And it's a different tone than what we are used to from Eminem. This is a very dark, very horrorcore-esque album through most of it. And you hear that with the opener 3 a.m. It's very strange. His flows and lyrics and inflections are just very weird, very out there, very different from what you're used to. And it sets a very dark tone, kind of like this scary horror movie type tone. After it, we go into the song My Mom, which I think is a pretty good song, but unfortunately is brought down by the single biggest gripe I have with this album, which are the accents that he has. And the accents here are pretty much prevalent in the chorus. He has an accent in almost every goddamn song on this album, and half the time it is so fucking annoying. His accents are so annoying on this album, and it upsets me because some of these songs would be really good without these accents, like fantastic, and he is brought down because you cannot look past the fact he's doing these weird, out there, different, not good sounding accents. Why is he doing this on all of these songs? I digress. We move on to Insane, which may be the coldest open to any song with, this cold beat, his lyrics. I was born with a dick on my brain. Yeah. Fucked in the head. This song in general just contains some of Eminem's most absurd lyrics. I think it is the most horrorcore sounding song on this album. Possibly just his most insane song in general when it comes to what he's talking about. A lot of people find the song really uncomfortable to listen to due to the subject matter. I don't so much, but I can definitely understand why. I think the song is really good and one of my favorites on this album. I wish a lot more of this album was like that, and more of it would be if it wasn't for the accents, because this song doesn't contain any bad accents. And talking about the production on this album, on this song, but on the album in general, is really good. I think this album may have the best production out of any of his albums. It's so good. Everyone did a fantastic job pulling through with the beats on this album. Even the worst songs usually at least have good beats, which is a lot to be said. Next 3 songs, more accents. We get more accents throughout these songs. I don't know. What do you want me to say? They're all right. They would be mediocre to good if they weren't for the stupid ass accents. We get to the song We Made You. It's a very fun song. It also has an accent, a pretty, prevalent accent, but for some reason for me, it's a bit less distracting on this song. And couldn't tell you why. It's very obvious. It's not like it's toned down. But it doesn't bother me as much on this song as it does like on songs like My Mom and some songs we'll get to in a bit. Medicine Ball, I think, would be an okay to pretty good song, but the chorus is so distracting and odd. It's not even really an accent problem with this, it's just the delivery is so weird and strange with how he gives it. Like, the chorus is so odd, and I'm not sure how to feel about it. I don't think I'm very fond. Then we get to Must Be the Ganja. The song is bad. We go to Deja Vu into Beautiful, which I think is the highest point of the album. Both of these are very real songs, relate to Eminem's life and struggles leading up to the creation of this album, dealing with substance addiction. And I think Beautiful is a really wonderful song, one of his best songs. The lyrics feel very real, despite them appearing, kind of corny. A lot of the lyrics he says are maybe cliche, like, take a walk in my shoes, buddy. But I think it just feels like he's real, like he's really speaking off of his mind, and I can appreciate that out of this song. We get to Crack a Bottle, which I think is his most fun song on this album. I really like it, we have some great features, just this upbeat, crack a bottle, let your body waddle. I think it's really good. It's very catchy, very nice song. And we end this album with Underground, which is mostly a good song. I would say it's a good song in general. Again, the chorus is very strange. It just feels weird. It feels weird to listen to in a way I also can't describe. My friend said it's in 5/4 when the rest of the song is in 4/4. I'm not sure if that's true, and I can't verify that. I'm not super good with that by ear. If that is true, that's a really odd choice. And it would make sense why it sounds so odd, because the way he's rapping and his flow and just the way it sounds just is so odd. And it just takes you out. But I don't know if it necessarily makes the song bad. It just feels off. And I'm also left with mixed feelings on this record because I think it really did have the potential to be one of his best albums. Maybe I didn't sell just how much I love so many aspects of this album. I love the production. I love the songs like Insane, We Made You, Beautiful, Deja Vu, Crack a Bottle, parts of Underground, parts of My Mom, parts of 3 a.m. So many parts of this album are really, really, really good, and yet it's brought down by these annoying accents. I think it could really be up there with his first 3 albums in quality and be remembered as one of his best albums if it wasn't for these missteps he made. And for that, I'm thinking 7 out of 10. After Relapse, he follows up with Recovery. He has 3 albums that start with RE. Gets confusing. I can't tell you how many times I've said Relapse talking about Recovery, or said Revival talking about Relapse, or whatever. If I say that in this review, I apologize. You can crucify me if you want. You probably won't notice either. And Recovery is a step away from everything he's done before, and leans very into this pop rap sound. You get the opener, Cold Wind Blows, which I think is very decent. I don't know, it's nothing special. It shows off his new poppy sound well. I think it introduces this new sound well. I wouldn't say it turns people off. If you don't like how this song sounds, you're probably just not going to like this album in general. If you do like how this song sounds, you'll probably get a lot out of it. So in that way, I think it's a good opener. You get to Talking to Myself, which I think is the start, kind of the featuring random-ass people and people who don't fit his sound era that he starts to do. I don't know. He's just got a lot of people on his albums from now on that not a single fucking soul has ever heard of, that aren't very good at making music. And then he also has some people that a lot of people have heard of, which don't fit his style at all, as we'll see in a little bit, even on this album. We get to Won't Back Down. What was I just saying about features that don't fit? Pink has such a horrible chorus on a song. I don't know, the first time I listened to this, I must have been deaf because I listened to it with my friend. I was like, wait a minute, everyone hates this chorus? This chorus isn't even bad. I think I was listening with earplugs in because I came back and realized how absolutely terrible the chorus of this song is. It's grating and annoying, and I hate it. And that's, but, it's not like everything's bad. We get Not Afraid, which is just an iconic song. I'd say it's an essential of the pop rap genre, I'm not afraid, I'm not afraid. Everyone knows that song. Everyone in the world knows that song, alright? And it's a good song. People know it for a good reason. We get a decent run of songs, including No Love, which I think has a great Lil Wayne feature. Again, I'm kind of personally connected to this song because my dad used to play it all the time. I think it must have been one of his favorite Eminem songs or something. It's one of the ones he played a lot. And, there's just a few good songs in a row before we get to Cinderella Man, which has a terrible chorus. In this album, Eminem forgets how to write good choruses, how to have people that know how to write good choruses, because a lot of the choruses in this album sell. Like, we get these songs that would otherwise maybe be okay with these horrible choruses. And this is something that isn't unique to this album. You'll see it more going forward. But it's very prominent on this album, I'll be honest. There's some good rapping throughout a lot of this album, but I feel like a lot of the songs lack something to hold on to. Whether that be a good hook, a good chorus, just anything to kind of like grasp. There's no beats that excel, nothing to really just like catch your attention. It's kind of just, it's good. And then you move on. We get to Love the Way You Lie, which I'm gonna be honest, somehow I avoided hearing this song for the first time until I was 16 years old. It has 2 billion streams. I knew it was popular. I've heard of it before. I managed to not hear the Eminem song with Rihanna until I was 16 years old, so you can definitely kill me for that one. But it's a good song, I'll have to admit. It's a great song, very good pop rap song. And this album ends off with an untitled track. I think it's a good ending. Finishes the album on a strong note. Just gives you something to hold on to on an album that generally is missing a lot, I feel like. Out of all of his albums, this is the one I have the least to say about, mostly because I think this album is pretty generic. I don't think Eminem does his pop rap style as well as he's going to do on the future, on his next record, and then just time from time going on. I just don't think he's stylistically very good at it yet, and I don't think this album is particularly amazing. Not that it's bad, it has some good songs, some good rapping, like I mentioned, with songs like Not Afraid, Love the Way You Lie, No Love, Untitled. But for the most part, this album is just kind of boring. 6 out of 10. Eminem goes on to do the Marshall Mathers LP2. Does this album have anything to do with the first Marshall Mathers LP? No, not a thing. He named it that to get more attention. Doesn't matter, really. I respect getting the bag, but this is nothing like the Marshall Mathers LP. It's essentially just a direct continuation of his pop style on Recovery. It has a pretty decent opener, but I feel like a lot of the first half of this album feels forgettable until Berserk, which features some more good rapping. We move on to Rap God, which I believe is his best song that he's being, he's doing this overly technical thing. Eminem, at a point, leans very heavily into the technical side of rap, and you see that on this song. This song pulls it off well, in my opinion, but you're going to see him go on in his future albums be very, very technical, and I don't think it goes well. But here it does, and I think he leans into it well. I think the beat in the song is very good. I remember the beat, I like the beat. Whoever did it did a good job. But yeah, he does the technicality here, he does the fast rapping, but it doesn't really become a problem until later. We get to The Monster, which is another iconic song, another great feature from Rihanna. I'm in love with the monster inside of my head. I'm in love with the monster inside of my head. We get to So Far, which I think is a very funny song. You just get some funny ass beat callbacks near the end. It's not, I wouldn't call it good, but it's fun, at least. It's a fun song, even if it's, maybe not made the best. we get to Love Game, which I think is maybe the best song on this whole album. It contains a Kendrick Lamar feature, who I think has maybe even surprisingly good chemistry with Eminem. Kendrick's verse is phenomenal. I think both rappers bring to the table so much good wordplay, so many great flows, all while keeping up, this is very high pace. I really love Kendrick's verse on the song. I think it's maybe one of the few times Eminem has been out-rapped on his own music. I think Kendrick's verse sticks in my head. No, I like his bridge. Oh, she don't love me. No, she don't love me no more. She hates my company. I don't know. I have a lot to attach to with this song. I really enjoy this song. And it's funny as well. It's a funny song. And I wish Eminem and Kendrick had more music together. Please. We get to Headlights. And on paper, everything about this song should be bad. Considering the Nate Rest feature. Is that how you pronounce his name? I apologize. Nate Ruess. Is that how you say it? He's from Fun, and his chorus that he provides sounds exactly like a snippet from a Fun song. I'm not a big fan of Fun. Somehow I don't think his chorus really brings down the song at all. I think it's really funny that Eminem chose this person for a chorus on this song. But I guess it kind of works, and the song is mostly about Eminem forgiving his mom, apologizing for what he said, trying to make amends. And I think it's a really nice and sweet song. And I think, he talks about regretting cleaning out my closet and stuff. Talks about wanting his daughters to, talk with her, just getting her back into his life again. I really very much enjoyed that. And then we get to the ending track, Evil Twin. And I'd say it ends the project on a high note. It's, it's more fun. It's got some good lyric. I like his lyric about his top four with Biggie and whoever, and then him and his evil twin. So who's the bottom two? I like that bar. I think this brings back a little bit of the Slim. I think it ends the project on a high note, and I like this album. I like this album a lot, and I think this is the last time we get a passable Eminem project. Last time for a long time we get a passable Eminem project. I'm positive about this. I think it's good. There's some forgettable tracks. There's some stuff that, I don't vibe with so much. But I think for the most part, this album's pretty good. Decently consistent. Has some real classic, iconic songs. 6+ out of 10.
Nobody likes me, everybody hates me. They want me to go eat some worms.
So we get to his most hated album by far, Revival. There's no point in sugarcoating it. People fucking hate this album. Why? Because it's bad. And this album is bad to the point of comedy. I don't know really any people who have unironic enjoyment for this album. If you're out there, I'd love to hear your opinion and how you could defend this. One of the best parts of this entire album is the Beyonce feature at the very start. It all goes downhill from there, and that song isn't even very good. We get to Untouchable with this absurd chorus. Black boy, we don't like the sight of you. Black boy. What? There's multiple times, especially in the second half of the song, where he keeps using the word we and us to talk about, the effect of, American society on, Black Americans and African Americans and stuff like that, and as if he's, a part of this, as if he's a part of these Black Americans who are being harassed by the police and whatever. I don't know. Regardless of how you feel about that, I just think it's very funny in the way he talks about himself in relation to these people on this song. And this song is very political, and a lot of these songs are very political. In fact, I would say this is a political album. And the problem with that is no one will ever take away the political messaging of this album for any reason, because all of his messaging is completely drowned out by the absurdly low quality shown here. No one is going to ever take away any messages because all they can think about when they hear this album is how atrociously bad it is and how funnily bad it is. No one is going to sit here and like think like, oh yeah, he really makes a good point about the state of society. You can't do that when you're making music that is shitty. We get to Framed. I don't know what you want me to tell you about this song. I was framed. This is one of the songs I quote a lot because I think it's very funny. I think this album is very quotable because it's fucking bad. And there's so many bad choruses. And this album is, I think, the very start of Eminem becoming unnecessarily technical. He does these random, out of nowhere, fast bars for no reason. These double entendres that lead nowhere that sometimes he has to just explain. Like, he does this especially on his next album, Kamikaze, as well. But he will do a double entendre and not trust that the audience will understand it, and so he will immediately explain what the double entendre means after it. Like, the people listening to the album are stupid or something. And I think it's really annoying. We get to Heat. The chorus here is terrible, and also it's way too quiet. The beat's not that bad, though, I'm not gonna lie. Actually, if there's one thing I can compliment this album for in an unironic sense, is that a lot of the beats are actually pretty good. Then we get to Offended. This chorus is so bad, it genuinely makes me baffled it made it to the finished product. Especially when you consider that the rest of the song isn't even that bad. It's brought down by possibly one of the worst choruses you'll ever hear. It's so bad, I don't even know how to explain it. You really need to listen to the chorus of the song. It is horrible. It is terrible. How did he put this on this album? We get to the song In Your Head, which uses Zombie by the Cranberries as a major part of the beat. Why? And you're never going to listen to the song without thinking of Zombie by the Cranberries, which is just a significantly better song. There's nothing that the song is offering me that, that when listening to it, I am not just thinking, why am I not listening to Zombie by the Cranberries right now? And then after all of this, he has the nerve to just troll the audience by just dropping an actually good song with Castle. What the fuck, dude? You couldn't even consistently be bad all the way through. Castle is just a good song. Like, there's nothing for me to hate on there. It's a good song. Whatever, man. This album is one of those albums that are so bad it's good. And I think it's one of those bad albums that I think everyone should listen to at least once. I disagree with a lot of people on this album because I don't think it's unbearable to listen to. I don't think it's, this annoying slog. And I don't think it's as bad as people say it. I'm going to be honest, I don't even think it's his worst album. That being said, it's bad. It's really bad, and I don't know how much I can defend it just for it being funny, but it is very fucking funny. 4 out of 10. I promise you, it gets worse. Gonna taste my I got that Then we get to Kamikaze. This album gives you the song Greatest, and it gives you some false hope that maybe this album will be bad, but it'll be funny bad in the way that Revival is. And I come back to Greatest a lot because I think it's very funny. Greatest in that world, greatest in that world, greatest in that world. I might be, I don't know. It's very funny. The chorus is funny. You get the really funny, humble interpolation halfway through. Revival didn't go viral. What is he doing? This song's really funny, and it did make me think, oh, we're getting another Revival. We don't get another Revival, and I'm gonna say that right now. We get to the song Lucky You, which I would say is probably the best song on the album, and that says a lot, because this song's still pretty bad, and I don't like the Joyner Lucas feature, and I don't have anything positive to say about it, really. I just have to say it's not as bad as every other song on here, I guess. We get to Skip Paul, which I would say perfectly sums up the album. Paul calls him, he's like, oh, I listened to your album, you're just fucking hating on people that hated on Revival the whole time, you're just whining. And that's what this album is, and there's zero self-awareness for Eminem putting this here, he's putting it as if it's like not a bad thing. Like, it's annoying. He spends this entire fucking album just complaining that people didn't like his last album. He comes across so whiny and annoying, and he just spends so much of his career onwards doing this. Specifically about Revival. I don't know, he must have this insane attachment to Revival or something, because he seems oddly touchy that people don't like this album, and he continues bringing up that people don't like this album. Can you admit you made a bad album? Revival's not good, man. We get to Normal. Bad beat, bad bars, forgettable. There's nothing nice for me to say about this song. We get to Stepping Stone. The chorus is fucking horrible. The chorus of the song is so bad. Listen to it, it's bad. We get to Not Alike. And the best part of this song is Royce. You get some of that unnecessary fast rapping from Eminem. He's continuing this streak of being overly technical, overly quick for no reason. The fast rapping on the song brings down the song. You're not impressing me that you can rap fast. I know you can rap fast. Can you focus on making your song sound good first before maybe you just start spitting verses at miles an hour? It doesn't catch my attention. We get to Nice Guy. Remember when I talked about Ass Like That being his second worst song? This is Eminem's worst song. It's not even close. This is by far the worst thing he's ever made. The first time I listened to it, my jaw dropped, and this song left me in awe. I couldn't even make a noise as I listened to it. This song is terrible. It is horrible. I cannot even express to you how much I despise this song, how much I never want to listen to this song again. It is disgustingly atrocious as a work of art. I don't even know if this song could be considered art. In fact, I think it existing single-handedly undermines art as a whole, and if you showed me this as the first song I would have ever heard, I think I would permanently denounce music as a form of art and never listen to it again. Then we get to Good Guy. I don't care about the song. I don't feel like saying anything about it. I don't care at this point. We get to Venom. We end the Venom song. It's funny. I mean, it's funny. He's basically mumble rapping in the chorus. Who let him say the word retard in a song made for a Marvel movie? I don't know if he was allowed to say that. I just thought that was funny. I don't have any... I'm just pointing it out. I'm not saying it as a positive or negative. I just thought it was funny he was able to say that in a Marvel movie song. Yeah, again, on this album, he loves making those double entendres, pointing them out, obviously, completely ruining the point of the double entendres. I fucking hate this album. In my opinion, this is his worst album, and it's not even close. It's so much worse than Revival. I can't even listen to this and be like, ah ha ha ha, it's so bad, it's making me laugh. There's nothing redeemable about this album, barely. And, maybe some parts that aren't so bad, some parts that, this album makes me upset, and I don't like it. It's so bad, I never want to go back to it in full again. That's how bad it is. But it's not the worst thing I've ever heard, I suppose. I have heard worse albums than this. I'll have to give you that. A lot of it comes down to the fact it's boring, and a lot of it comes down to the fact that it just annoys me on a personal level. That being said, it could be worse, I suppose. 2 out of 10.
Fill him with the venom and eliminate him. Other words, I'm intimate him. I don't want to hurt him, but I did him in a fit of rage. I murder him again. Nobody will evade him. Finna kill him and dump it.
We're getting close to the end of Eminem's catalog here with Music to Be Murdered By, and he's rocking the full beard on this cover. I think this cover is actually pretty good. I think it's one of his better covers. I like the theming of it. And I guess this album is trying to take a more classic kind of horrorcore approach. Don't think it necessarily exceeds in that, or succeeds in that even. This album's boring. I'm just gonna say that right off the bat. It's a boring album. The opener is forgettable. We get the song You Gonna Learn, which I think is one of the better, stronger tracks. It's a welcome return from Royce. I think, he does well in this song. We move forward. Eminem, can you please stop featuring Ed Sheeran in your songs? None of the songs with Ed Sheeran are good. This is like the second or third time you've had Ed Sheeran on your song. They're not good. You don't have chemistry with Ed Sheeran. Stop putting him on your songs. We get to In Too Deep. It's a more poppy song. And I think it's pretty good in comparison to the rest. When it comes to Eminem pop rap song, I think it's pretty good. We get to Godzilla, which is, one of his most popular. I can't believe how many streams this song has. 1.7 billion streams on Spotify. That's so many. And it's another technical fast rap song. I think in recent years, it's one of the few technical fast rap songs that isn't super bad. I think the fast rapping doesn't really bring this one down. I think probably because it's built around it instead of it being unnecessarily shoehorned in out of nowhere. And you know, the lyrics in the song are pretty corny. Like, there's just a lot of bars in this song that I think are really funny. I got them passing out like what you do when you hand someone flyers. All in all, I think it's good, and I think his fast rapping is impressive and manages to not be annoying, you know, even at its speed. And you know, I like the Juice WRLD feature, you know, on the chorus. I think he does good. It was his first posthumous feature, and I think it's a good one. You get the Darkness. Awesome Hello Darkness, my old friend sample. I guess it'd be pretty good without the sample. It's really distracting. Like, I can't listen to this without hearing Hello Darkness, my old friend. Why is he sampling that? Whatever. I don't know. There's another double entendre in the song. Well, you know, okay. It's fun. He makes a double entendre and follows it up by literally saying the words double entendre to explain it. What I think might be the most egregious example of him over-explaining his lyrics. We get to Ya Ya. I'll start with my compliments on the song. It has a nice beat. I think all the features put in some good effort. That's where my compliments on the song ends. This has possibly the worst opening to a song ever. It's the chorus, and it instantly ruins the song every time it comes on. Again, listen to this chorus. If there's one thing that Eminem has forgot to do over the years, it's how to write a chorus or have other people write a chorus. Or just how to tell if a chorus is good. Because he'll have so many songs with some great rapping and some great flows in his verses, and then throw in this disgusting, terrible chorus that takes you out of it immediately. But it's a Little Engine. I think this song really fits the music to be murdered by theme. It has like this really old school horrorcore vibes. The lyrics mention the Rickroll out of nowhere, which I think is really weird and out of left field. I don't know. I guess this song's not bad. Again, it's kind of boring. I don't think it leaves a whole lot to hold on to. And then we get to the end. I Will. It's a boring ending track. Again, this song kind of leaves you with nothing. Long verses. The chorus isn't catchy. The beat isn't all too good. It's just a nothing song. It's not bad. It's just really boring and forgettable. Although it does have one line that stands out to me from the feature where they say, "Just fucked a fish called Wanda." Okay. All in all, this album, I don't know. I'm not so positive about this album. It's boring. That's the biggest thing. That's the one word I would use to describe this album is boring, forgettable. There's not much to cling on to here. 4 out of 10. Okay, we get to his most recent effort into the death of Slim Shady, coming out only last year as of the creation of this video. And some people were hyped for this album, and I do not understand why, considering his output in recent years. But you know what? I went in with high expectations because I think this album has a genuinely fantastic concept. And that made me, it gave me high hopes, because I think the concept of, you know, Eminem going back, deconstructing the Slim Shady persona, which he hasn't really used in a while, you know, taking a look at how the Slim Shady persona holds up in the modern era, you know, what would need to be changed, how it would, you know, be used, what would happen if he continued it now. I think it's a really interesting topic for an album. He sells. I'm just going to say that right now. At the start, there's some very noticeable AI. I don't know if he AI'd all of the lyrics or if he just put an AI filter over his voice to make himself sound younger. Either way, it's not good sounding. You can just really easily tell, which is my problem. But luckily, it stops. Either it just stops being present, or it just becomes really less noticeable come later on. You get some really mediocre tracks until you get to Evil and Lucifer, and I think these two songs are pretty good, and they bring you some hope going into Antichrist, which is another, unfortunately, song that's brought down by a bad chorus from a bad feature. And I don't know who Eminem decided to feature this album, besides a couple people. They're all SoundCloud rappers that have 0 monthly listeners. So I don't know where he's finding these people. My friend brought up that maybe it's because, you know, Eminem kind of got his start as a nobody. You know, he was found randomly by Dr. Dre and put on his album and then, you know, got a record deal. So maybe that's what Eminem's trying to do here, trying to give back. But the difference here is that Dre found someone good, and Eminem's not finding people who are any good. He's finding shitty SoundCloud rappers that are bad. But on this song, Antichrist, Bizarre makes a surprising return, and I love you, Bizarre. Thank you for coming back. Absurd verse. I don't know. It just feels very. It fits this album that Bizarre's coming back, considering the shine back to the Slim Shady persona. Bizarre fits very well in with that Slim Shady character, being a friend of that Slim Shady character with his over-the-top, ridiculous, absurd, stupid lyrics. We move on to Fuel, which is another technical song from Eminem that I think is really good. It's basically just this pure rapping song with both Eminem and Jid, and I think both of them do a really good job. And I think Jid is a really promising rapper of this generation. He's not my favorite, and he's not my favorite upcoming rapper per se. But I do enjoy his music, and I'm excited for his new album coming out. And I think he does a good job on this song. We move on to Houdini, which is the hit from this album. It's made very commercially, and that's obvious, with these interpolations of older beats. But generally, it's pretty good. I don't think it's a bad song in terms of, you know, his songs that are made for, you know, to be popular. I think it does a good job. It contains a lot of similar lyrics and ideas from before in the album. I didn't mention this before, but there's just some annoying ass lyrics in this album all the time. I think some of it's meant to be played satirically, but it still comes across as bad. You trying to cancel me? Gen Z me, bruh? Huh? Come on, man. You're being annoying as fuck. But even though I think Houdini kind of follows these same ideas and says these same stupid shit, I think it comes across a lot less annoying in this song from the way it's presented in a more absurd way, the way he works it in, you know, with these lyrics like, my transgender cat Siamese, blah, blah, blah. I think that bar is kind of funny, despite the stupidity and, you know, it not being very much different from the other stupid lyrics that I think are actually bad on this album. I don't think that lyric sticks out to me as being particularly horrible. We move on to Guilty Conscious 2, which I was so scared for, because Guilty Conscious, as I mentioned at the beginning of this retrospective, is one of my favorite Eminem songs. And I was worried he was going to bastardize this, and he was going to ruin that song's legacy. And he did not. He came through with a very surprisingly good sequel. With a good concept. I think it works as a sequel to Guilty Conscious 2 for a reason. It's essentially Eminem arguing with the Slim Shady persona, going back and forth in the same way as on Guilty Conscious, and by the end of it, killing the Slim Shady persona and leaving him away for the rest of this album. And I just really enjoyed this song. I think it has some funny lines, and I think it's overall just a good song. It's my favorite song on this album pretty easily. We move on to Temporary, which is another emotional kind of Mockingbird, When I'm Gone-esque track. And it's pretty good. I don't think it's as impactful as those older songs for me. Again, maybe that's just because I'm used to hearing those songs from when I was younger. But something about this doesn't hit the same way, but it's a really good song. It's a really heartfelt song, and I think he does good in those heartfelt songs. We move on to Toby, which a lot of people like, and I fail to understand why. This has got to be one of his most overrated songs. I feel like every rapper involved in the song had no interest in making it. It's so entirely devoid of energy and reason. Everyone's, you know, rapping so monotone. I feel like no one wants to be there or make this song. It's boring and long. And I don't see what people see in this song. I don't enjoy it. We get to Somebody Save Me, which, it would be a pretty good song, except it has this horrible Jelly Roll interlude for a chorus. And it pisses me off, because I think this would be a pretty good song without it. No, I don't like Jelly Roll, and I especially don't like his chorus on this song. Eminem, pick better people to work with, for the love of God, dude. Jesus Christ. Anyways, this is his best album in a little bit. It is. Best album in a little bit. I was vibing with parts of it. You know, despite a lot of the lyrics annoying me, a lot of the parts of it just being kind of bad. I felt like it was missed potential. I felt like it was missed potential in a lot of ways because he had just this amazing concept and flubbed it, and it could have been, I think, you know, not that I would expect this from him because I didn't. I know he's past his prime, you know. So it's not an expectation you should have, but I feel like had he put his all into it, this could have gone down as one of his best albums. Just from, you know, the concept alone. The concept on this album is so amazing. And he just doesn't do it justice. That being said, generally positive thoughts on this, I think. More positive thoughts than negative thoughts. So I'm in the positive green side of this album. 6 out of 10. Right. Yeah.
That is my life, that is my life, that is my life, that is my life,
I think essentially what there is to take away from Eminem, he was a really good rapper and he's made a lot of good songs. He's not a consistent rapper, and he is not one of the rappers with the best discographies. If anyone tells you Eminem is one of the best discographies in rap, they either don't know what they're talking about or they're sucking his dick, because he does not have a great discography at all. In fact, in terms of when it comes to good rappers, I would say he is maybe one of the worst discographies out there. But I really enjoyed going through his albums today. I really enjoyed writing them, talking about them. I'm very passionate about music, and I'm planning on doing this with a few different artists. I'm planning on doing this with Kendrick Lamar, probably Tyler, the Creator, maybe some non-rap artists like Iron Maiden, who I'm a big fan of, Pantera, just whoever you would like to see. And after the end of this year, probably starting 2026, I'm just going to start uploading reviews of new albums as they come out, my thoughts on them new, you know, copying Anthony Fantano. But for this year, I think I'm just going to stick to these retrospectives, and then probably by the end of the year, talking about my favorite albums, least favorite albums from this year. But I hope you enjoyed. I hope you agreed with me. I hope you didn't agree. If you didn't agree with what I said, tell me why you don't agree with me. Maybe you'll change my mind, and I'll bump Kamikaze up to a 10. You'll open my eyes and show me that Nice Guy is truly the best song he's ever made. I highly doubt it, but maybe you can pull through and do that for me. Revival didn't go viral.